Welcome to the Life of Leisure Show. I'm your host, Nick Leisure, alongside with my co-host, Anthony V.
Yes. How are you?
I got a guest host to the right tonight with the amazing vocalist dubbed Queen of Sax Soul. Carla Fleming is in the house.
Hey.
Across the table from us, the always hilarious Demetrius, a.k.a. The Specialist.
You know I try. Okay.
And behind the scenes,
there you go.
He still keeps it clean. Our producer, Matthew.
What's up?
And Kelly Kells.
I'm off the camera.
Kelly, a.k.a. Kells.
What's up?
Kills.
Tony behind the cameras, making us look good, you know?
Yeah.
Our special guest today really needs no introduction, but I'm going to give it to you anyways. She was born in Oakland, California.
What? East Oakland.
Uh-oh. For over the past 20 years, she has not only been one of the most recognizable faces in ABC, excuse me. I almost said the other word. In ABC News. But she's an incredible journalist, one of the hardest working individuals I've ever had the pleasure of working with, Cristina Mendonsa.
Thank you so much. This is so fun. I want to hang here with you guys all the time.
Mendonsa. Where did the name Mendonsa come from? Is it Spanish, Portuguese?
It's Portuguese. So my family is Brazilian and Azorian.
Oh.
And yeah, so it's a Portuguese surname. Pretty common actually in the valley. A lot of dairy farmers and a lot of Portuguese folks in the Central Valley.
Not a lot of journalists though.
You know, actually, my great grandfather he's like in some radio Hall of Fame. He's a radio dude. He was a radio man. Yeah, he did. He did like a show for immigrants.
Okay.
In all throughout the Central Valley. I still have people. I mean, the man's been gone 30 years, and I still have people that will come up to me and say, "I knew your great grandfather." Yeah.
Wow.
What part of the Central Valley? Like Monterey?
Turlock.
Oh, Turlock.
Turlock, Los Banos. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's my
I'm
family.
from Salina, so I'm Central Valley there too.
Okay.
I'm right behind the coast.
Oh, yeah.
Represent.
Represent 831.
Let's talk a little bit about family before we get into journalism. What was your childhood like? Do you have a big family, siblings?
I have a small family. I have one sister. She's still here in town. My dad passed like right after 9/11. It was not a good month. But my mom is with us. In fact, she's joined the cast. She's
shout out
Charmaine.
to Mom.
She's there.
What's up, Mom? Shout out to Mom.
Yeah, she's there. She's tech savvy. And so it's just the three of us, and then my husband, my husband's from Detroit, and I brought him back here to California, and then we have a couple of daughters as well. So it's a small but mighty bunch.
Okay, cool. Were you like a good kid, or were you a troublemaker?
I was like too good. I probably should have like had some more fun. I was really good. Yeah, I was always like worried about my grades and about
like the straight A student.
Yeah, because I didn't want to get kicked off the cheerleading squad. And
In Oakland?
So you were a good cheerleader in Oakland?
I grew up here. Yeah, I went to Del Campo, so a lot of that.
She's a cougar.
That's what I was gonna ask you.
Thank you.
She is a cougar.
What up, Matt Barnes?
Del Campo.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
So when did you move to Sacramento?
It was young, about first grade. So my dad took a job up here. He started doing dignitary protection for Governor Reagan at that time. And then he stayed on with Governor Brown and Duke Majan, and he was in charge of dignitary protection for California State Police, which is an entity that no longer exists. They were absorbed into the CHP.
Wow.
But it was a great job. I mean, he got to hang out and travel a lot and do some cool things.
Yeah, sounds cool. What about college? Where'd you go to college?
College I went to 8 colleges before I graduated.
8 colleges?
8,
Is that by choice, or did you get kicked out of a few?
See,
Did you
I wish I
start
had a
your
good
partying?
story to tell.
Like she started partying at the college stage, right?
I actually started my radio career the same time I started college. So as you know, in radio, you're moving around so much. I would have to, disenroll and then re-enroll wherever I was moving. So I was in college through radio in the first part of my television career. So I went, I don't know if I can name them all. I went to American River College, Cosumnes, Sierra, Sac State was where I eventually graduated from. I said Cosumnes, Modesto JC, Shasta JC, University of Colorado, and Metro State College.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then finally graduated from Sac State. And then about 5 years ago, I went back and got my master's at Gonzaga.
Okay. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Congratulations. See,
Oh,
it's not
can
too
you do
late
that?
for you, Demetrius.
It's not. I already got the city. I got the AR. I got the
You just
consumers.
need like 4 more colleges and you'll be good.
And about 100 credits. You need units still, man.
I got
Units.
night school. I got.
That's why I tell people if you want to finish, no excuses. You can do it. It might take you longer than the average person if you're putting yourself through, but you will appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you study journalism in college like the whole time or?
I said so. At Sac State, they had it at the time. I think they still do a combined degree. It's government journalism, so it's political science and journalism. So it was kind of fun. You might remember Mayor Cerna. He passed a while back, but he was my professor. And then I would cover him in the evening for the radio station I was working for. So it was a great way to, get to know politicians by taking those courses, because a lot of them taught at Sac State. Got to know a lot about the Capitol, and it kind of fueled my passion for political news for a while.
So on the radio station, you were a personality or?
I started as a board op, midnight to 6 a.m. at FM 102, and on the AM side.
I know. Whoa.
On the AM side. So, yeah, I did that. That was my very first job there. And then there was something called the Morning Zoo. And all of you are too young to remember.
I don't want to date myself.
Classic.
Not all of us.
Classic. That's
I
classic.
vaguely remember
So
that.
I became like,
I think I had cassette tapes at that time.
Right. It was the mixtape days. But I filled in for Mike Reynolds, who was the news guy for them. And the Morning Zoo, they were crazy. They lit my scripts on fire. I think I was mooned once or twice. Yeah. Which, when you're like 18 years old, whoa. And then I worked for KZAP for a while. And I never really was a personality. Back then, music stations had news departments. Full news departments. And it was only like probably the late 80s, early 90s where they started getting rid of all the news departments and just doing straight, personalities from music stations. And then you'd have one maybe news station that would like service all of them.
So in the beginning, did you always want to be a journalist?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
From like sophomore year in high school, I started writing a column for a little newspaper called the Fair Oaks Post, and it was run by a former TV guy who, he would take my copy and just write all over it, and he was really gruff with me, but it was really good training to take criticism and to take it well and learn how to take it and not crumble over it. So he would rip apart my stuff every week, and then it made me a better writer.
You sound like a hater.
I think
Sounds like a hater.
Where is he now?
I think you're the first person. I think you're the first person I know that actually started something and continued with that, because most people don't figure it out.
Yeah.
Like they start something and then they go to college and then they're like, I don't want to do this, and then they end up somewhere else.
I met a lot of people like that. I met a lot of people who went to law school all the way through, have all that debt, became attorneys, and then were like, I don't want to do this. Yeah. And that would be hard. That'd be so hard. And I think, a lot of people feel that way. I mean, now I'm at a point in my career that most people usually have much earlier on, where I feel like I'm in my 20s again, when you have more fire than sense. Although I do have 30 years experience, but I've got that fire back, which is nice.
Mm-hmm. So you still love it to this day as much as you did in the beginning, or?
I'm a storyteller. That's who I am. That's what I do, and I do it wherever I can.
Is it just like a job for you now, or do you really still have a lot of passion for it?
I definitely have a lot of passion for it, but my tastes have changed. I used to do a lot of crime in courts, and used to love that, the run and gun, the spot news, breaking news. That was what I lived for the first part of my career. And now I'm really interested in, and like with my own podcast, I'm really interested in kind of deconstructing success, deconstructing innovation and creativity, and finding out what makes those people tick to try to help others.
Where can people check out your podcast?
I'm on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher. It's on my website, CristinaMendonsa.com, and some podcast apps. You can find it too. Just it's called A Fresh Agenda.
Okay.
Just Google that and you'll find me.
All right. How do you feel about news now versus how when you first started? What's the big difference?
I think it's there's a lot of exciting things. I mean, I'm definitely not a hater about the way news has changed. I'm not one of those that are like, oh, in the good old days it used to be X. I do think there is a lot of opportunity. There's so many more platforms. When I first started, I had to find a photographer to work with in order to put a tape together. Now anyone can put together a story with a phone and a little time. I mean, so I think in that way it's more accessible to people. I think that the millennials that I worked with at my last station, very creative people, very innovative. Absolutely. Yeah, you were one of them. Yep. But I mean, if I miss anything, I miss the opportunities that the career used to offer, and I'm not seeing a lot of those. But again, I'm speaking from someone who's been doing it for 30 years. When I first got in, the older journalists I met were like, "Oh, you missed the good old days. They're gone." Now it's just good luck. Now I don't feel that way about the generation coming in, but I do feel like there are things that I got to do that just aren't really possible at the local level now, just because there isn't the cash flow behind the business structures.
So is fake news real?
Is fake news? Well, yeah.
Only on Fox. Only on Fox.
Fake news is all around us all the time. I mean, I think
Is it that much more easier for fake news to be, seen on a bigger scale now?
I think it's easier to find an audience for any kind of news, including fake news. So I think you have to be a discerning, consumer of news. And there are people who see conspiracy theories online and believe them, one side and up and down the other. I mean, so you have to be more discerning than you used to have to be.
Yeah, I watch Ancient Aliens a lot.
Yeah, me too. I like it.
I love that show.
What is like the craziest story you ever had to cover, or something that really sticks out in your mind over all these years? Like, is there one that's just like is the most dramatic or craziest or bizarre?
There are several. But the one I'm thinking of tonight is where I was with your dad, and we were in Israel.
Oh, you guys got captured, right?
Well, I wouldn't say captured. We were held and probably could not get up and leave if we wanted to.
By the PLO?
And no, I don't know who they were. It was in Bethlehem, and we followed some guy into a compound where there were lots of young people with guns and hanging out, and we were shuttled from room to room, and I think they gave us some tea at one point, and we interviewed. We talked to a lot of them. There wasn't a lot of talking, but we tried to.
Were they roughing you up? Like,
they weren't roughing us up.
They were
no.
just like,
they were just sitting there like, we got to watch you too. So just sit there and don't talk to us.
Were you scared? I mean, you were new as a journalist at that time.
You know
right?
what? I'm going to be honest with you. I was never scared with your dad.
Oh,
Never.
Because of him?
He had this
a weenie, though.
No, he had this coolness about him. He had this. I mean, I was 20 when we went. I think I was 6 or so when we went, and he just was so cool and calm, and I was never worried. I mean, we were out in the Golan Heights, and I remember this. We're out tromping around trying to get some video, and this like Jeep full of guys pulls up, and they're like, "Get the hell out of here! There's snipers here, you idiots! Get in your car, get out of here!" And I mean, but never was I fearful at all. I was just kind of like wide-eyed, just like Anthony Bourdain in it through,
Maybe that rebel reporter, huh?
Yeah,
You
it
were
was. I felt that way, and it was fun. And I would have loved to be able to do more of that kind of thing. But in local news, that was disappearing. That was going away.
Did you do more like overseas stories and things like that?
I went to China. That was fantastic. Spent a week and a half in China with a global trade organization. I went as a journalist to cover, California interests in China. Spent a lot of time at the border, doing border stories and out of Mexico.
Did you jog the Great Wall all the way across?
I did not. I think the time I was most, I have to say, not fearful, but I was like, oh, this is something. This is a story. I was in Denver, and I will never understand why they did this, but it was Martin Luther King Day, and so the marches were coming down, and they gave the KKK a permit to protest on that day. Wow. And it all came together at the Capitol. So the KKK's up on the Capitol steps, the marchers go by, and I don't know if all the officers were on vacation that day. I mean, they didn't have very many, and things blew up. There were cars overturned, there was fire, there was I was tear gassed for the first and only time, thankfully. I mean, it was It was, it was wild.
You were tear gassed by the cops, or?
Well, they were throwing tear gas at just, and we were just in it, and we were hiding behind this car that had been overturned, and they were trying to clear the area. So they tear gassed it, and I don't know if you've ever been tear gassed.
Yeah, a few times.
A few times. For fun on the weekend, Friday night.
Before. Sounds like you need to start doing some action movies instead. Jumping over flipped over cars and getting tear gassed, and
I mean, those are my stories. those are my good stories.
We need to call
most
it
of the
rock.
nights I'm doing the school board meeting.
Cristina Mendonsa and The Rock.
Skyscraper
Scraper
2.
too, yeah.
No, most nights were very typical on the set, sitting next to my good friend Dale.
Yeah, we love Dale.
What up,
love
Dale?
So
Snorting
cool.
that
Dale.
Love Dale.
Who's the sexiest male news anchor ever, in your opinion? You can't say Dale.
Or
Okay,
Ron-
I've
or
got
Ron
one.
Burgundy.
I can answer that right now.
Okay.
Stone Phillips.
Okay.
I like him. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Hopefully your husband isn't listening.
You should have said Ron Burgundy.
Well, he's not an anchor, so.
Yeah. There's a lot of people that wish you were still back on the air right now.
Oh,
on News
thank
10.
you. Thank you. Well, I'm having a great time. Like I said, I feel like this sense of creative freedom that I haven't felt in a long time, because it's like I spent so much of my life being an ambassador and a representative and a cheerleader for one entity. And now it's like I don't have to do that. And
Would you go back if they were like, we want you back now?
Cash
Really?
me out. Cash me out.
They
that
said
they
we're
would
gonna-
not say that.
Well, I know that.
They've
but
moved on, but no, I mean, not there. I mean, I wouldn't say I would never work for any news station again, because there are some good ones and some really classy operations that I wouldn't mind being a part of. But this was my year, this whole year, and I've been off the air for a year. This is my year of saying yes to whatever showed up. So I've been doing such interesting projects that are just like get me out of bed like with a shot of lightning, that I'm just excited about it.
But ABC's ratings must have went down, because like the only reason I even watched ABC was because of you.
Aw.
It was like, and a lot of people I know, like this morning, I had a ton of people like inboxing me, like Cristina Mendonsa's on, like I had a crush on her, like you know what I mean. So it's like a lot of people watched it because of you.
A lot of people say, I grew up watching you. Well, thank you.
Yeah, and growing up too, like we didn't watch.
How old am I now? I told him not to say that.
But you know, she's like a vampire. She doesn't change.
You know what the interesting thing is about just that whole experience, and I haven't asked Stan if this happened to him, because he was here for a long time as well, but there are people that I run into that still think I'm on the air.
Ooh, I hate that. feeling.
All the time. I mean, like it happened at Costco like 2 nights ago. Someone said, I watch you every night. And I said, well, then you're a creeper. You're creeping around my house.
I watch you every night outside your window.
I know. But I actually run into a lot of people, and what that tells me is that people aren't noticing TV as much, maybe not watching as much, and that does bear out in the research. I mean, ratings are down across the board for television stations all over the country, because people have phones and they have iPads and they have options to watch Life of Leisure and other things. So they have other options.
I mean, even when I was there, I got the news off of my phone quicker than I did working there. It's like, oh, what are we reporting on tonight? Okay, let me look it up real quick.
Let me ask a question. So is it true what Nick said? Nick said you would be there at 5 in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
Do your shit.
Oh,
go home,
yeah. I
have
gotta
dinner.
tell that
Okay,
story
I
to
was
her,
just
though, because you'll
fascinated.
tell it wrong.
Okay, I'm gonna tell it right.
So
She's
this
like,
is
I heard
how
you get no days off.
Christina was like so dedicated. Well, you're really dedicated to your career and your work. I've always noticed that. You're always working. But, between ABC News, iHeartRadio, KFBK, your own podcast, blogs, everything else, right? I don't know what else. These movies coming up with The Rock.
Yeah. Skyscraper
that's going on.
2.0.
You're always working, but I noticed at times when I had to work nights as a producer over there,
Right.
you would do the 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, and then you would leave and you would drive 30, 40 minutes home to go to dinner and have dinner with your husband and your kids. And then you would drive 30, 40 minutes back to be on the night news, the evening news.
Right.
So you're dedicated, not just dedicated to the news, but to your family too.
Thanks. You do what you have to do as a parent. All of us as parents, I don't
That's
know.
dedication, because a lot of parents will be like, I'll see you at midnight. You know what I mean? But like,
I didn't want to miss anything, and both of our daughters were musicians, so they had a lot of performances and things that were going on, and I didn't want to miss any of that. I always thought, people say you can't have it all. I tried as hard as I could to have as much of it as I could.
That's dope.
where did you find the time to like because I know you were training and all that. You had a personal trainer like Vince and them back then.
Right.
And so where did you find the time to even do that?
I don't know. I need sleep, but I don't need a lot. So maybe that helps. I don't know. I just tried to, it's all workflows, and I kind of get off on that whole trying to figure out my workflow and how much I can cram into a day and where I can squeeze this. It's like Tetris with your day.
Have you always been that way?
Yeah. I liked it, but I feel the same way about you and other people that have come and gone that I've met at 10. Just like such amazing creative forces that just put out so much.
Yeah.
And that's
hard.
It is hard. It is hard,
yeah.
but it also gets you out of bed in the morning, and when you can kind of create something and put it out. When I finish a project for a client or for whoever, I mean, I kind of sit back and say, I call my husband in and say, look at that, look how good I did.
I did that. You see that? I did that. That's what's
Where
up.
did you meet your husband at?
I met him. He was the manager of like a little Cheers type pub, and a photographer that I worked with at KUSA in Denver said, "Oh, you got to meet this guy. He's amazing. I think you'd really like him. He works at this bar." And I'm like, "Oh man, he's like with a different girl every night. I'm not going to meet this guy." But I walked in, and he came up to introduce himself, and he had blood on his shirt because he was the manager but also the bouncer. So he just like kicked some people out. It was like a little Cheers bar, like working man's bar, right? And so he shook my hand and then he disappeared, and I never saw him the whole night. And I thought, well,
You stalked him after that.
no, I didn't. I just thought he was not impressed, and I was like, okay, he did. But apparently he was, and it took him about a month to ask me out, to work up the courage to ask me out. And when I realized,
So did you keep going to the bar?
yeah, I'd go with my friends and I'd see him, tip him. And
He's not gonna walk away from me like that.
He hit you with the hard to get.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
hit you with the hard to get. Huh?
Yes, he did.
He hit
but
you with the hard to get.
he was very shy. So finally he asked me out, like on my voicemail. He asked me out. He was nervous.
Oh,
and then,
that's cute.
then we met for lunch, and there it was. I fell in love.
There
The
you
rest
go.
is. We actually have a person on IG right now that says that you are a legend. You work hard and you're very dedicated and professional.
Oh,
So great choice on the interview too.
I know that guy. I love him.
Do you?
He's great. We're doing a project together soon. I cannot wait.
Oh, there
Very
it is.
cool.
Yeah.
Want to shout him out or?
Yes, Mario. Yeah, it's our city's best.
Yeah. there
Very,
you
very
go.
cool. So, changing subjects a little bit, I heard you're a fan of hip hop music.
I do like. Yes, I do.
That's Demetrius's category.
Yeah, and I got a question about some hip hop too. We're
Okay.
gonna get to that during the
I'm gonna pull up my playlist.
He's gonna
Yeah, what's your playlist looking like? What you
Yeah.
bumping? What you bumping?
Oh, what's on your Pandora?
Okay, so I don't do Pandora. I do Spotify. Because I have both my daughters will send me music lists from wherever they are.
Yeah.
So our older daughter, she fronted a hard rock band for years, like regionally, and traveled around and did her regional thing. And then she went into college and she got into like EDM. So which I'm not totally into that.
I went through my EDM
I'll
phase.
I'll do a little bit of that. I'll do a little bit. Okay, so here I'll pass my playlist. This is what I got. That's what I got going on there.
Is Ice Cube on that list? I
Oh,
just
she
gotta
got
know.
Anderson Paak. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Lil Wayne, 2 Chainz, no problems.
Wow.
Okay, Ray Dalton can't hold
That's
us.
for leg day.
Leg
Yeah.
day.
Leg day.
She gets sit
Did anybody see if her car was lowered? She got beat in there. Huh?
in. Okay. You with the okay? I'm gonna look forward to asking you my question during the speed round.
Good. Speed round. Okay, now I'm nervous.
Bumping.
I just remember having like a whole lot of fun with you at ABC because you were always in a really good mood, always weren't bitter ever,
Thank you.
We had a good time there. I mean, even like off the air, we did stuff and used to do stuff with me where like the poker guys would have poker night without me and
Yes.
just like videos and just crazy stuff like that. So it was really fun.
I
and,
had a blast there. I mean, I've always felt this way, and I tell other people, TV owes me nothing. Those jobs don't. That was a leased seat. That was not an owned seat. So I'm just super happy. I got to do it. I feel blessed. I got to do it for as long as I did, and I'll still be telling stories other places. I am telling stories other places. But yeah, it was a good time. I met a lot of really talented, fantastic people. Some of which I keep in contact with.
I tried to play pranks on her back then. I made her come out and do like little like teasers and stuff. And I wrote one up that said like 4 people got arrested or something. And it was like Cristina Mendonsa. Like they were like all got arrested.
I know.
Wait, that's her whole name. Wait a minute.
The funny thing is, if you hand it to me, I'd read it.
She's like, yeah,
later,
like, read it. I gotta. The one time though, remember when we did the live drone? I think her name was Gabrielle.
Okay.
The reporter.
Yeah.
And we did. It was you and Walt Gray. Shout out to Walt Gray.
What up, Walt?
Yeah.
He's
Well,
a good guy. And we did. It was about. I think it was about getting licensing for drones or something like that at that time. And we were flying a live drone in the studio.
Okay.
And practicing, and she was talking about it. And you guys were like, "Do you think you could fly this drone like and keep it like right in front of her face?" And I was like, "Yeah, no problem." I was the guy that was like flying drones through the newsroom and everything. Like
Right.
everybody's like, "What the hell's going on?" But I gotta say, like, there was a split moment that I was like, if I just turn this drone to left and hit Gabrielle in the head real quick, this is going to be a YouTube sensation. You're going to get a million hits.
Get her hair caught in a blaze.
I remember that. Yeah, that's great.
And it was like buzzing right in front of her, and she was just talking on camera. We were live on the news, so I was like,
Don't do it, Nick.
do it. Like my fingers were just going like, don't do it. I wanted to just go boop.
I love.
Okay, that's on YouTube now.
Those drones. I've lost 2 of those drones for my own production, and my husband did both of them.
Oh wow.
He was doing like touch and goes over the pool.
Mm-hmm.
Lost one there, and then I know, having fun with it, and then we lost one in a vineyard. Looked for it for an hour. Yeah, they're fun though.
Yeah, they are. They are fun. Well, since day one, you've always been very chill, likable, and approachable.
Oh, thanks.
So I
Thank
appreciate you
Same
coming
with
on
you.
this show with us.
Absolutely.
Demetrius, you got some questions for her.
I do got some questions for her.
Okay, I'm nervous because you did your research.
I did. I mean, look, y'all see my notes. Okay, so
Impressive.
you don't have time to think about it. Just go with your gut and be like, okay, this is how I feel.
Okay.
There it is.
All right.
Zen moments.
Okay, so I hear you like wine.
I do like wine.
You lost a drone in a vineyard, so of course you like wine.
We did. Yeah, I know.
So
Wait,
are
that was
you-
before we drank any.
So are you going red wine? Are you going red wine or white wine?
Sometime, well, red mostly.
Red most of the
Yeah.
time. I see it.
I'll do a little Savvy B once in a while. but-
That's what it's called?
Yeah, that the white wine is Sauvignon Blanc. I do that
Sauvignon
somewhat.
Blanc.
Yeah. So
No
I
Carlos
usually like
Rossi.
a Barbera.
No Carlos
I'm getting
Rossi.
schooled right now.
Yeah.
Okay, let me ask you this. You may lose a couple friends, but
Okay.
Gonzaga or Sac State?
Oh, that's hard.
Oh, I got her.
I'll say Sac State. That was, that's,
yeah.
that's where I built. That's where I built the foundation.
Are you gonna stay in Sacramento like the rest of your life? You think?
You got to now.
I don't know. I mean, my daughter's still in. She's got 1 more year of high school, so at least another year we're here, definitely.
Okay.
And then after that depends on what happens.
Okay.
Opportunity.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
you're-
Do you more so, will we find you running or cycling?
Running.
Running? Don't like to ride the bike?
No, it's okay. It just takes so much time.
Okay. I'm lazy too. Okay. Taekwondo or jujitsu?
Jiu-jitsu.
Oh, you said that like you know what's up.
That I used to do Krav Maga.
Who is that?
Who is that?
Krav Maga is an Israeli fighting system, and I made it to level 5. So
So you like a
Hey,
ride?
How many levels? How many levels is
there's
that?
6.
Oh,
That sounded like a video game. She said, I made it to level 5.
Level 5.
Kept all 3 lines.
That's when they put you in the dark and
Israeli.
attack you.
Was that because of the first trip to Israel?
Kind of. I saw a movie too about it, and I thought, at the time I was working nights, right, and I had kind of a stalking issue, and I didn't.
stalking issue?
Yeah, I didn't have a CCW, so I'm like, I'm going to learn how to protect myself. So I went to Krav Maga.
Is that a good one?
Yeah, she's about to
CCW?
shoot you if you say something wrong.
I didn't have one, so that's why I did the Krav.
All right, I got 2 more. Denny's or Mary's Gold Miner Cafe?
Mary's Gold Miner Cafe, for
Actually,
sure.
how I know. Where that's at? Tell the people.
Where's that? Well, there used to be.
2.
There's in Folsom, and there's another one out in Roseville. But we used to go get our daughter's bear pancakes at the one in Folsom every Saturday.
They have one in Rockland too, I think, like right by Sierra.
Yeah.
that's the best. Oh,
Yeah.
love that.
I'm
So
getting my
good.
journalist on today. Yo.
There you go. Look at you.
You are.
Okay, this is my last question because I
Okay.
looked at your music. Are you going with Nicki Minaj or Cardi B?
Oh my God. That's so hard.
Which songs? Which songs are we talking about though?
Just whatever. Her whole persona, whole style. Who is it? Chung-Li? Or is it, is it Cardi B? Is it?
I know.
I think I'm gonna do Cardi B.
Hey!
Yeah. So I'm living my best life.
There we go.
I live in my best life.
Okay. Well, we look forward to keeping up with you, Cristina, and everything that you do moving forward. And we appreciate you coming on the show. Tell the people where they can find you again.
All right. I'm at CristinaMendonsa.com. That's my website. Fresh Agenda is my podcast. You can find me there every morning and afternoon on KFBK, 6:23 a.m., 8:23 a.m., and 5:23 p.m. I have a new little newscast I put on each week called The Short List on Mondays on my Facebook page and my YouTube channel. And please subscribe to my YouTube if you'd like. I do a lot of original stories there. Just did a great story about an NFL player who came out of the closet, who was going to commit suicide and did not. And it's a very touching story, and he's a great guy. So there you go.
All right. That's what's up.
Well, thank you for joining us today.
That